Imagine you're walking down a long street. Eventually, you'll see that the street becomes smaller and that you eventually can't see any further down the street. In the art world, this is called perspective, and it is a method of drawing streets and buildings and even just a boxing in the room accurately so that you will be able to accurately show that it's moving back into space. There are many components that make up perspective and vocabulary and different viewpoints that are used in perspective that all attribute to it being in perspective. The simplest form of perspective is one point, which is what this image is here, and it has one vanishing point, which is the point at which the street or whatever you're drawing eventually leads to and disappears. It's usually at eye level as well. And the vanishing point is on the horizon line. The horizon line is also generally at eye level and is where the sky tends to meet the land. So if you're at the beach and you see where the horizon line is very clearly because there's nothing blocking it. Where your horizon line depends on how your image will be, because if it's higher or lower, it will distort your image more. The next portion of perspective is your orthogonal lines, which are the lines that lead to the vanishing point. So in this image, these would be your orthogonals. When drawing in perspective, you draw all your lines out from a vanishing point. Orthogonals are street lines and sidewalk lines, and as here, the top of a building, and they always lead to the vanishing point. Transversal lines are the sides of the figure, such as the sides of your building. Transversal lines will basically make up your figure, such as this cube I will draw. As you can see, this cube is moving back into space. And if I were to add another transversal and erase my other lines, this cube is in perspective. Transversal lines are always parallel to one another as well, because they're always verticals. However, what if you were standing on the corner of a street and were actually able to see down two different streets? This is where you would have two-point perspective. Two-point perspective, unlike one point, has two vanishing points. Therefore, you will have your horizon line and two different points. Your left orthogonals will go to the left point and right orthogonals will go to the right point. So if I were to draw the corner of my building or cube and have these orthogonals go this way and do the same on this side, it will appear as if this cube is moving back into space. As you can see, my cube is very distorted and very foreshortened, which is due to both of the vanishing points being so close. Most times in two-point perspective, both vanishing points, or at least one, will be off the page. And in this case as well, your transversal lines will still be vertical. One can continuously add vanishing points to accurately change the viewpoint and distort the image, but this will always be more complex than these simple methods. Three-point perspective adds a point at the bottom of the image. So you still have 2 points here and 1 at the bottom. This will cause your transversals to be tilted because all of your vertical lines will go to the bottom point. Such as this. Three-point perspective is mostly used if you were looking up at a large building. So if I was looking up from the bottom of a building in New York City, or if you were looking down from very high up. So if I was at the top of the Empire State Building and looking down on the city. Four-point perspective adds another point at the top. And this basically, in the simplest form I could explain this, is like you're halfway climbed up of a building and the top of the building you're looking at is distorted, and so is the bottom. The most complex would be 5 and 6 point perspective, which is very difficult to do, but most likely resembles a fisheye lens that you would find on a camera, where everything is sort of distorted in a circle. As I said, perspective has many components, but once you put them all together, it's very easy to do. And maybe the next time you're walking down the street, you'll notice the transversals and orthogonals leading into a vanishing point.